Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening. First tonight, family and friends of a Tasmanian tour guide are pleading with the Australian government to continue the search for 40 missing crew members after a live export ship sunk off the coast of Japan. William Mainprize was one of 2 Australians on board. His family is vowing not to give up hope.
He has been lost at sea for more than a week, but Will Mainprize's family are not giving up hope.
He can survive, and if he got close to a lifeboat or a life raft, we know he's safe.
And he'd be dragging other people on.
But time is against us, that's the only thing.
The 27-year-old had been working as a stock person on a live export ship when it struck trouble in a typhoon off Japan last week.
Will had worked on many of these ships all around the world, and he was very good at his job. He always made sure that the cattle was the priority.
Only 2 survivors have so far been found. The Japanese Coast Guard had called off the search.
We were absolutely devastated, and it's just absolutely heartbreaking to hear that.
It's hope, but also kind of like we're just logically thinking about there is a massive chance that there's 40 people out there waiting to be rescued.
Will had been living in Tasmania for the past 3 years, working as a tour guide.
He was amazing because he would connect with people so easily and quickly. So he's just that, just really genuine, nice, do anything for anyone sort of a guy.
His friends say he's one of a kind.
I think I speak for all my friends when I say that Will's a very special person. He just had an amazing energy about him.
He would open you with open arms, and he's just so generous and kind-spirited. It's just really tough.
An online petition calling for the search to be resumed has gained almost 25,000 signatures. In a statement late this afternoon, the government says that wide area surveillance by air and sea continues and that the Japanese Coast Guard will not give up its search. Letitia Wallace, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmanians stranded overseas are running out of hope and money with only a trickle of international flights. 25,000 Australians are still waiting to return home, 6 months after the pandemic began.
Life on the empty streets of the Philippines.
I've got to wear a mask and I have to wear a face shield.
In March, Bridgewater's Scott Cripps flew over to see his girlfriend. Weeks later, the country went into lockdown. He's still stranded and he's not sure how much longer he can last.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I'm in a bad way.
Blaming Australia's cap on overseas arrivals, Scott says efforts to leave have been futile.
Every time I book a flight, I then get an email or a message through Messenger saying that my flight has been cancelled.
And Eliza Bartula is also waiting to return to Geilston Bay, but she can't secure a passport for her son because her husband has to sign off on it, and he's at a mine in West Africa.
The problem now is we need a consent from the father, and the father works in Africa and he can't go to the embassy to have the consent signed.
They're among 25,000 Australians overseas waiting for flights. Filipino community leaders say more needs to be done.
They're desperate to come home. They miss Tasmania so much. Being stuck in the Philippines for 6 months now, it's just too much for them. Financially and emotionally, it's a burden.
Let's prioritise getting these Tasmanians and Australians back. It might mean we need to send the Hercules to pick them up, and I'd be for that.
As the Commonwealth considers lifting visitor caps, the state government says it will do whatever it can.
In an occasion where some needy Tasmanians have been looking for extra support, we've definitely been advocating for them, and we're prepared to always do that in future.
A future still far from certain. Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
The pandemic has presented many challenges for police officers, creating quarantine and compliance duties never before seen. But one silver lining, a drop in crime across the state.
COVID-19 has kept the criminals at bay.
The northern area in particular has seen a really good reduction in crime since the start of the year. Most crime categories are well down. There definitely was a decrease in volume crime, is what we call it, which is your business burglaries and your home burglaries.
Crime has dropped steadily across the state in the past financial year. Traffic offenders fell by a staggering 8,000. Public place assaults dropped by almost 100 compared to last year. Property damage and public order incidents rose, while home and car burglaries and family violence matters decreased. The total number of offences dropped by almost 600.
Considering that Tasmanians' restrictions have been eased quite considerably, what is pleasing is that we haven't seen a huge increase in those crimes being recommitted. So it's been excellent results really towards the end of the financial year.
But car thefts are still high, especially in the northern region.
Just make sure that you're doing the right things to keep it safe. You're locking it up, you're keeping it in the garage, it's well lit, and also with valuables, just don't leave valuables lying around in your car and tempt people.
The police union is concerned about the workloads on officers during the pandemic.
The actual number of jobs that our members are responding to have actually gone back to the levels they were pre-COVID-19. We're doing a lot of other functions under COVID-19. We do a lot of quarantine checks, we're at the airports. So when our normal core business gets back to its normal levels, we find that our members do get stretched.
And there are fears crime could spiral in the near future, with many Tasmanians under financial and emotional stress.
I believe that the consequences of COVID-19, we haven't fully seen what's going to come. So it's one of the things that we're very cautiously looking at as to where the crime rates go from this point forward.
Letitia Wallace, 7 Tasmania News.
COVID-19 restrictions are continuing to lift in Tasmania, with 24-hour gyms allowed to reopen. From Thursday, facilities will no longer need to be staffed at all times, but will be subject to WorkSafe inspections to ensure public health measures are upheld. Meanwhile, Tasmania has removed 3 Queensland areas from the list of community transmission hotspots. Brisbane, Ipswich and Logan City will no longer be recognised as affected regions due to reduced risk. Travellers who have returned from those areas and are currently in hotel quarantine can complete the remaining period at home with the fee waived. An alleged Bandidos motorcycle gang member has been charged with drug trafficking after a raid at Miandetta today. Police claim they located cash at the property as well as close to half a kilogram of the drug ice with a street value of $120,000. The 37-year-old will face a Devonport Magistrates Court tonight. Struggling farmers in the Northern Midlands have welcomed plans for a new irrigation scheme, promising much-needed water flowing to the area. From Cressy to Ross, the project aims to boost local businesses still recovering from a dry summer.
The grass may be green and luscious, but for this farmer, the past year has told a different story.
We're on a rainfall of about 550 mils average, but last year we only got 427 mils, so we get a lot of variability, and that's quite low. This year we weren't able to put in carrot seeds and beetroot seed because we didn't have water.
He's now soaking up plans for a new Northern Midlands irrigation scheme, set to see 90 kilometres of pipeline pump more than 11,000 megalitres of water into the area.
All this area from the south of Cressy to the north of Campbelltown and Ross through that catchment will have access to that water.
The new pipeline will give us water security to be able to invest in new crops and diversify to really take on the future with building our business.
30 local irrigators have already signed up to the $68 million scheme, part of the first 5 Tranche 3 projects in development across the state.
That's what the value is of these schemes. It provides them certainty and the certainty to then go and put their own money into their own properties.
It comes after struggling farmers pleaded for extra water earlier this year after poor rainfalls led to tough restrictions.
This dam behind us probably hasn't filled for 2 years. So what farmers really rely on is reliable water.
It's still a 3 or 4 year wait until the water hits the ground for us, but it gives us hope and gives us options to plan for the future.
Community feedback for the project is open until October 12. Ruby Kamane, 7 Tasmania News.
A new multi-million-dollar feed mill, only the second in Tasmania, is set to be a game changer for local farmers. The specialised Devonport facility will see, for the first time, the local production of pellets.
For decades, Northwest farmers have been forced to search the mainland for all their grain and stock feed needs, but now an alternative right on their doorstep.
It's actually reducing our reliance on imports. This is local manufacturing leading to local jobs.
Pallets of pellets piling up in this storeroom as Tas Stockfeeds officially draws the curtains on its newest venture.
This mill processes grain and stock feed. We have a pelleting capacity and a mash capacity.
The $10 million processing plant at the Devonport Wharf, only the second of its kind, made possible through a $6 million government loan.
To see the capability growing here provides really the long-term certainty that our state ag sector has been needing.
Previously, 80% of the state's grain and stock feed was imported from interstate. A range of specialised equipment now offers customised feed needs, suiting farmers and solving supply issues.
Yeah, fully utilise all the types of grains available.
This brand new mill and state-of-the-art equipment will allow Tas Stockfeeds to produce 30,000 tonnes of pellets each year. 95% of products will stay here in the state, and the silos are already being sucked dry.
We were hoping people would want to buy local pellets, which they are, so that's great.
Garth Burley, 7 Tasmania News.
Organisers have pulled the pin on Delorain's Tasmanian Craft Fair amid ongoing coronavirus concerns. There had been hopes the event, now in its 40th year, would be able to proceed next month. But the committee was told of new requirements this week and was still awaiting final approvals. The event is the largest working fair in the Southern Hemisphere and will now be moved online from October 18. Well, despite a rocky start amid COVID-19 shutdowns, a new Hobart restaurant is recovering while raising money for a local cause along the way. A local women's shelter receiving a donation from every meal sold, aiming to help those at risk of homelessness.
A tasty feed, helping out those in need. These chefs are busy in the kitchen now. But a pandemic wasn't the start to restaurant life that the team here at Dana Eating House imagined.
I mean, everyone was in the same boat. Not going to pretend that, we were any worse off than others as well. But yeah, all you can really do in that situation is keep going, plan for the best.
Opening the doors of this new restaurant only weeks ago, the young owners uncertain about the future, like so many others in hospitality. But despite those tough conditions, they're giving back.
Conception, we had so much support from our colleagues and just wanted to pay it forward.
Deciding a portion of profit from everything served up will go to Mara House, a program helping young women at risk of homelessness.
We're really interested in highlighting a cause that it's here in our community that people don't necessarily know about.
We're seeing high caseloads of young people needing support, especially around housing.
That help needed now more than ever. The money raised to benefit residents in the perfect way.
And we've realised our utensils and our equipment are a little bit outdated, so really nice fit from donations from a restaurant being able to support an upgrade of some utensils and equipment.
Making ordering a plate the easiest way to donate. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
Kingborough's come from behind win over North Hobart showed some much needed resilience, according to coach Trent Bomella. The Tigers are roaring as they come off a short break to face a depleted Glenorchy.
We saw a new type of Tiger on Wednesday night, one digging in for the fight.
To be able to come back from 4 goals down at half time when, guys traditionally in the past have not so much dropped our head, but it's been a bit of a hard task. I think that just shows the guys that, they can do it when they stick in.
Riding high on confidence, Kingborough now appears far more ominous to Glenorchy, which is coming off a belting at Windsor Park, and walking wounded with Jay Bowden and Ben Camrick. No certainty for Sunday's clash, although Adam Roberts and Mitch Rainmerd may return.
We weren't pleased with what we put out there, but getting a number of those guys back will mean we can play a much better defensive game and a much more physical game on the weekend.
In the TSLW, Clarence is coming into top form. North Launceston's the next hurdle.
We had a really good session on the track, probably the best week of training we've had all season. So the girls are pretty keen to get back and playing because we've had 2 byes in 3 weeks.
The Women's Super League has the most crucial clash up until this point of the year. Clarence Zebras strangled Olympia's attack when the sides met recently, and Clarence's 1-0 victory also marked the first time Olympia hasn't scored in a game this season.
Prior to that, we were conceding goals against other teams that might not have been as potent as Olympia are up front, which was disappointing. To not concede against Olympia for 90 minutes was a good outcome for us defensively.
We actually do a lot more work in training on attacking than in defence.
The sides are first and second on the table. And Tas Racing's Horse of the Year will be crowned tonight. The Inevitable and Mystic Journey are in the running, along with Mandela Effect and Turak Affair.
This would be one of the closest contested Horse of the Years that I can recall.
There will also be a special moment for Delarane's Terry Rolls, who will be among 5 inductees in this year's Hall of Fame. The former trainer has been going through a lengthy battle with MND.
I can assure you that when I was fortunate to ring Terry and tell him that he was going to be inducted, and once the tears stopped, and we had a pretty good conversation, and I know that they're going to have a great night.
And we're back on track tonight with our Friday night flashback segment. With TSL crowds now capped at just 500 people, we're taking a look back to the biggest crowd ever for a statewide game. An eye-watering 18,000 people crammed into North Hobart Oval in 1988 to witness a famous contest. The Devonport Blues, as they were known, beat Glenorchy to claim the club's sole statewide crown.
Social distancing certainly wasn't observed in 1988 as a sickening melee took place before the game had even begun. 10 players were reported, 5 suspended for a combined 18 weeks. Hall of Fame umpire Terry Fellows dealt with it by bouncing the ball.
Good thinking, away they go in the grand final.
Dion Scott, who'd later play for Sydney and Brisbane, opened the scoring within the first minute, but trouble was never far away. The commentary team explains.
In comes Wilson, watch this one. Oh, there was a king hit if ever you've seen one. And he ran, oh, he's into the runner now.
The jam-packed crowd is just as concerning by 2020 standards. No limit on numbers made it the biggest audience for a statewide game. They were treated to a Leon Perry bomb from outside 50. And at the other end, Kyle Zinger Wilson sent one home from long range. And he was fired up. And who would kick the winning goal? None other than the now Lions coach, Chris Fagan.
Fagan goals, it's all over.
Glenorchy probably just run out of time. You must have brilliant effort for them to make it.
Must have been delighted with your backline, they stood tall.
Oh yeah, they're fantastic. They're fantastic, yeah.
The 43-point win would be a short-lived peak for the club. Roland Crosby would finish up the following year as Devonport tumbled down the ladder, leading to dumped Brisbane Bears coach Peter Knights taking the reins. A statewide premiership never to be repeated.
Good evening. Another day of above average temperatures around the state. Ooze our warmest with 21, Hobart 20, Launceston 17, cooler conditions over Burnie and Devonport. Grove 20 today, St Helens reached 19, Flinders Island and Strawn 18, Friendly Beaches 17, Lowhead 14 and Lyoweeney a top of 11. Cloud cover increased during the day but no rain apart from a few falls over the west coast so far. The extensive frontal cloud band is there over our region, pushing way back to WA. A trough has cloud over Queensland. Onshore activity blew the cloud over coastal New South Wales. Tomorrow the front clears our northeast but still connects to a trough over the mainland. Winds northwesterly at 15 to 20 knots over northern waters. Southeast southwesterly winds elsewhere decreasing during the day. For Saturday in Hobart, 14 the top and early rain, bit of a drop in temperature, 14 for Maydena, a possible early shower and 10 the high for Oatlands. Launceston, 80% chance of rain, even 90%, 14 the top, 15 for Devonport and Lyoweeney, rain easing and 9 degrees. 15 the top for Burnie with rain clearing, mostly sunny though for Strawn, 15 the high, 14 for Marrawar. St Helens tomorrow looking for 14 degrees, 13 for Swansea, early rain clearing from Orford and 13 degrees. On Sunday, showers developing over the west and far south, late morning, extending statewide by evening. Fine over the central and northeast areas with showers for the rest of the state on Monday, and on Tuesday fine and partly cloudy, showers easing from the west. Sunny in Perth tomorrow but rain over Adelaide and Melbourne, a sunny 22 in Sydney, partly cloudy in Brisbane, and the dry season continues to bring the best weather to Darwin. And here are the current conditions. I do love this time of year. In fact, Kim, I'm so excited that it's spring that I've wet my plants.
I'm glad you clarified that. That's all your news for now. Louise will be with you over the weekend. Thanks for joining us this evening. Good night.